If you don't behave, I'm going to take you both home.
Well, they're at it again.
A fine chance I have to read mystery stories.
Yeah, and it's a mystery to me why those kids don't get killed.
See here, young man. Don't you know you're not allowed to speed in the city? Don't let me catch you around here again. Now beat it.
You know, it's only this morning that... What did I tell you? Now listen again. Look at you, you're so flat. Didn't I tell you this morning?
Did you have a nice ride?
What did you say?
I was asking if you had a pleasant ride.
A pleasant? Do you think there's anything pleasant about having a horse run away with you?
I guess it was a bit exciting.
A bit exciting? Would you mind telling me what you would consider a real exciting ride?
Well, the horse might fall and roll over on you, or you might fall and get your foot caught in the stirrup. Still, that would be more unpleasant than it would be exciting.
Which is exactly what might have happened to me if you hadn't...
Oh, not a chance. Why, you're too good a rider for anything like that, even though your mount did run away with you.
Perhaps I am. But I couldn't stop him. And if it hadn't been for your good horsemanship and bravery, why, I'd...
It was nothing, I assure you.
Nothing to save my life? Well, I like that.
I sort of enjoyed it myself. Why, Uh-oh. I'd forgotten all about him.
Why? What's the matter?
Oh, nothing. Much. I just borrowed his horse without asking him. That's all. Thanks.
Hello, Mr. Madden. Guess the excitement's all over.
Oh, Miss Brewster, so it was your horse that bolted.
Yes. But thanks to the timely action of this gentleman, there were no serious consequences.
I know all about that. And if he hadn't done such a fine job in stopping that runaway, I'd have pinched him for running off with my horse. You're sure you're all right, Miss Brewster? There's nothing I can do for you?
Well, You might take care of my horse for me. I think I'll finish my ride in a taxi.
That's not a bad idea, Miss Brewster. I'll take care of him. By the way, young fellow, where did you learn to ride?
Oh, just picked it up. Newspaperman can do a little of everything, you know.
Oh, yeah? Well, you'd change your mind if you knew the bunch that I'd met.
Well, that's that. Now, can I call a taxi for you, Miss Brewster?
No, thanks. I think I'll rest a while.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. You might give me a little information about yourself before you go.
Okay. What'd you like to know?
Well, first of all, your name. Or is it a deep, dark secret?
The name's Gordon. Bob Gordon. Free, white, and over 21. Anything else?
You intimated that you were a newspaperman. What paper are you with?
Why, just at present, I'm
Not working. Are you acquainted with anyone on the record?
Am I? Why, the managing editor knows me so well he can read my mind. He even answers my questions before I ask them.
My father happens to be the owner of the record, and I thought...
Just a moment, Miss Brewster. I don't want any favors of that kind.
Just a moment, Mr. Gordon. You might let me finish. I was only going to say that I happen to know that there is an opening on the record. And I suggest that you go with me to the office and meet my father.
Thanks just the same, but I...
Oh, I'm not suggesting this to do you a favor. After all, Dad has a final say whether he gives you your chance or not. And if you get it, then it's up to you to make good.
Well, that's mighty sweet of you, but... I don't know what to say.
Then I'll say it for you. We'll go to the office right now.
Well, I can't go right now. I mean, I want a chance to clean up a bit.
Very well, then. I'll meet you in my dad's office in the record building in an hour. Will that give you time enough to clean up a bit?
Huh? Oh, sure. Well, it's more than enough.
I don't like the way you say that. I'll just make sure. I expect you to return that to me in 1 hour at my father's office.
I get it. Making it a matter of honor for me to show up.
Call it what you like. But if you aren't there in 1 hour, I'll send the police after you.
This is a fine mess to come back to. Threats to sue the record for libel. Orders cancelling advertising contracts. Speculations falling away to nothing. You can't question if I'd stayed away 2 more months, the record would have been done for.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons I cabled you, advising your immediate return.
What were your other reasons?
More a belief than a reason, Brewster. A feeling that there's something radically wrong with your organization. That someone is trying to put the record out of business.
And you don't believe that the editorial mistakes and the news errors that are the cause of these threatened libel suits were the result of somebody's bungle?
I did at first, but when they were repeated with such startling frequency, I began to have my doubts.
You're not a man to jump at conclusions, Preston. And if you feel that way about it, I know there's something wrong. I'm going to find out who's responsible. Ask Mr. Larkin to step into my office. I left Mr. Larkin in complete charge of the paper while I was away. I suppose you questioned him about these things?
Of course. But I'm a lawyer, not a newspaper man. And his technical terms were somewhat beyond me.
Good morning, Mr. Graves. Could you tell me if Miss Brewster has arrived yet?
Miss Brewster?
Yes, Mr. Brewster's daughter. I was to meet her here.
Oh. No, she hasn't come in yet. But you may wait if you like.
Thanks, I will.
Mr. Larkin. Mr. Brewster would like to see you.
Good morning, Miss Grange. Oh, the model of team work.
Lady, you see before you the soul of honor. Here are your shoes.
Don't take it off yet. Weren't to his team father. Perhaps its charm will work with him as well as it did with you.
You don't know the half of it.
Is Father very busy, Miss Grace?
Yes, Miss Brewster. Mr. Preston and Mr. Larkin are with him.
I'll give them exactly 5 minutes. That's long enough for any man to tell all he knows.
You can't run a paper with clean men, Mr. Brewster, without some mistakes cropping up. And that's exactly what I've been up against since my best men quit.
But why did they quit? They were getting all they asked for.
Sure they were, but the news offered them more.
The news? So Kent is back of all this. Why didn't you notify me at once?
Well, I didn't want to bother you. You were on your vacation. I thought I could handle it.
From now on, I'll handle it myself. I've locked horns with Howard Kent and that dirty rag of his before. And if he's looking for another fight, he'll get it good and plenty. Larkin, from now on, you're not to release any edition of the record without my personal okay. I'll make sure no more libelous mistakes get by, and Larkin, get some men that can be trusted and know the meaning of the word loyalty.
Yes, sir.
Father, may I speak to you a moment?
Come in, Helen.
How do you do, Miss Helen?
Hello. Darling, there's a young man outside I want you to meet.
Helen, you know I can't be bothered at this time.
Oh, I know, Father, but this is important, too. Now, listen to me.
Yes, that's what I want.
Hello, Mr. Larkin.
Oh, it's you again, is it? Well, my answer's the same that it was yesterday and the day before and all the other days you've been coming here. Nothing doing yet.
Thanks just the same. I just thought you might change your mind.
What kind of a badge do you call that thing?
Oh, that? Why, that's a badge of honor.
Why, of course I will. Under the circumstances, I owe him more than I can ever repay.
But you're not to mention that to him. You see, he's modest, and I wouldn't want him to know that I told you.
Modest? And you say he's a good reporter? The two don't go together.
You just wait and see whether they do or not.
Oh, all right. Bring him in. What did you say his name is?
Gordon. Bob Gordon.
What have you been up to? You asked me to wait a minute, and then you disappear into your father's office.
Well, I wanted to see if Father was busy. He wasn't, so I arranged for you to see him immediately.
You did what?
I arranged for you to see him, of course. Come on. He's waiting for you. Daddy, this is Mr. Gordon. He's been attached to some of the out-of-town papers. Mr. Gordon, my father.
How do you do, Mr. Brewster? Very happy in meeting you, sir.
It's a pleasure to meet a gentleman of your type, Mr. Gordon. My daughter tells me that you're looking for a position on one of our daily papers.
Yes, he is, Daddy. In fact, he's already had several interviews regarding that very thing with Mr. Kent of the News. Haven't you, Mr. Gordon?
Why,
Oh, he has he? Mr. Gordon, how would you like to come with the record?
I'd like it very much, sir.
Then consider it settled. Mr. Larkin will take care of the business arrangements, and I trust they'll be quite satisfactory to you.
I'm quite sure they will, Mr. Brewster. Thank you very much.
Better thank Helen here. Though it strikes me you'll have a tough job living up to her recommendation. And now, if you'll excuse me.
Of course we will. I know you're anxious to get back to your important business discussion.
Report to Mr. Larkin's office in the morning.
I'll be there, sir.
By the way, Father, Mr. Gordon is dining with us tonight.
Huh? Oh, yes. That'll be fine.
But, Mr. Brewster, now listen, won't you please have a heart?
Why? What's the matter?
Was it necessary for you to drag me into a dinner at your house tonight? After all, you've already accomplished your purpose in having me meet your father.
What? Don't you want to come?
Of course I want to come.
Well, then why make all the fuss? Besides, Mr. Preston and Mr. Larkin will be there, and it'll give you a chance to get better acquainted. And didn't the charm work beautifully? Everything turned out just as I had planned.
I'll say it did. Now, you'd better take the charm back.
What for? Do you want to spoil everything?
No, but I'm afraid of what you might do next. You know, I don't want to die of heart failure before I get started tomorrow.
The idea. Well, you insist on returning it? You can bring it to the house tonight.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes, Mr. Larkin. He's in his study, upstairs.
Thanks. I'll go right up.
Well? We'll have to watch our step, Kent. Brewster's taking personal charge of the record. There's not a chance of pulling anything more there.
Then he doesn't think those mistakes were, accidental?
Why, Brewster's no fool. As soon as he found out you were grabbing his best men for your paper, he knew you were trying to put the record out of business.
And I would have, too, if he'd stayed away another 2 months. What brought him back so soon? Does he suspect you?
No, I'm in the clear, all right. He blames you for everything that's happened. Says you're planning some more political trickery and want to wreck his paper so that it can't expose you.
The record must be put out of business. We're after too big a stake this time to let anything stop us.
Are you telling me? Say, what do you think I ran Brewster into those libel suits for?
What about those libel suits? Brewster has a clever lawyer, you know. Any chance of his squaring them?
Impossible. I know who I was picking on when I pulled those things, and they're not the type that can be squared. They've got the money to go through with anything they start.
If we can get Brewster deep enough in the hole through those lawsuits, it won't take much to put him out completely.
I must admit, the whole affair has me greatly worried.
Well, aren't you going to join us, Gordon?
I'll be with you in a moment. I'll wait for Miss Brewster.
Preston, the record isn't a bad spot. I can pull the paper out of its present difficulty in time. But what worries me the most are these libel suits. Is there any way that we can stop them?
I'm afraid not, Mr. Brewster. You see, if the people involved were not so prominent, we might get off with an apology or even a nominal cash settlement.
I know. They're all after my scalp, but won't be satisfied with anything else. At present, I can't see any way out.
That's just the trouble. Now take Mrs. Van Alstyne, for instance. Socially prominent, influential, the head of I don't know how many charitable organizations.
I know. Her letter was the worst of the lot. She even threatened to come here and tell me what she thought of me. If I didn't know her so well, it wouldn't be so bad. What is it, Jenkins?
I beg your pardon for interrupting you, sir, but Mrs. Van Alstyne is here and wishes to see you immediately.
Mrs. Van Alstyne?
Yes, sir.
Robert Gordon, what are you doing here?
Why, You'll pardon me a moment, Mrs. Van Alstyne.
Why, that's Mrs. Van Alstyne. She's going to sue Father.
Yes, I know. I'll talk to her. Maybe I can fix it. How do you do, Mrs. Van Alstyne?
Robert Gordon, what do you mean by
Not
calling
so
me...
loud, Aunt Clay. For the love of Mike. I don't want these people to know who I am.
And why not? I suppose this is some more of your crazy ideas about making your own way.
You don't know the half of it. I start to work tomorrow on the record.
That slanderous paper?
Oh, come now. You know you don't mean that.
I certainly do mean it. And that's exactly what has brought me here. If this isn't slander, I'd like to know what you call it. Using my picture to illustrate an article about some wealthy woman planning to elope with her chauffeur. The idea. This paper should be put out of business, and that's exactly what I intend to do. If Mr. Brewster doesn't personally apologize to me for this stupidity, I shall put the case in the hands of my attorney with instructions to spare no expense.
But you've got this all wrong. This picture has nothing to do with that elopement.
You mean to tell me I don't know my own picture? That I can't read?
Oh, it's your picture, all right. But here's the article that goes with it, right next to it. Unknown beauty wins motion picture contract.
Unknown beauty, indeed. And using my picture. You think I'm crazy? Never heard of such nonsense.
There's no nonsense about it. You're a darn good-looking woman, and you know it.
Uh-huh.
It's a perfectly natural mistake using your picture. I can readily see how it happened. When they came to put in the picture of the unknown beauty, yours must have been there, too. Picked yours up, saw it was a good-looking woman, and put it in without realizing their mistake.
You really think that's what happened, Bob?
Why, there's no question about it.
That it wasn't meant for the other woman? The one who was going to elope with her chauffeur?
Why, of course not. Anyone can see that. Look, here's the unknown beauty article right next to the picture. The other article is under it. There isn't any question but what your picture was meant for the unknown beauty.
Well, I guess I have been too hasty. I shall have to apologize to Mr. Brewster for my terrible letter.
Father, you can't keep Mrs. Van Alstyne waiting any longer. You might as well go in there and face the issue.
You're right, Helen. I'll see her.
Never mind. I'll take care of it. Here he comes now. You'll have to do it yourself. But for Pete's sakes, don't give me away.
You wish to speak with me, Mrs. Van Alstyne?
Yes, I wish to apologize for my letter, Mr. Brewster. Mr. Gordon has explained just how the mistake occurred.
I regret the mistake exceedingly, Mrs. Van Alstyne. We know that it caused you considerable embarrassment and are grateful that you accepted our explanations in such a forgiving spirit.
Then we will consider the incident closed and forgotten, Mr. Brewster.
Thank you. Good night, Mrs. Van Alstyne. Happy to have seen you again.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Mrs. Van Alstyne.
But, Rob,
young man, I don't know how you worked it, but you certainly did a good job.
Nothing remarkable about it, sir. Merely a matter of convincing her that she was wrong.
I have a number of others that need the same thing. And I think you're the man to do it.
I'll do my best, sir. I hope I don't let you down too much.
I hope you don't.
Just who you were picking on. They're not the kind that can be squared. They'll go right through with anything they start. Yes, they will. A lot you know about them when a young squirt like this Gordon can get to them, one right after the other, and what happens to the squaw.
I know all about that, Kent. He squared every one of them. I can't understand how he did it. Unless he hypnotized them.
There's a lot you don't know about Gordon, and he's supposed to be working for you.
What do you mean?
Just this. He's been snooping around trying to get something on me. That's the real reason I brought you out here.
You mean he's trying to connect you with the attempt to ruin the record?
I suppose that's what started him, but he must be stopped, to understand. If he finds out too much, it won't be so good for either of us.
I understand. Thoroughly.
All right, then. Get busy.
You ought to see Larkin's face every time I come in with his story. Seems to get his goat that I haven't skipped up yet. Says I have a horseshoe wrapped around my neck.
Father certainly wouldn't like his attitude if he knew that. But you have been lucky, Bob.
Say, listen. Don't you think I deserve a little credit?
Of course you do. And I know something else that deserves a little bit more.
What's that?
That little pin. Don't you realize, young man, that from the first day you bore it, everything's come your way? Why, you haven't failed to get anything you've gone after.
It has happened that way, hasn't it?
There's no happen to it. It's fate. And so long as you wear that pin, you'll always have good luck.
I wonder. By the way, have you ever thought about marriage?
Why, no. What's that got to do with it?
Well, you'd better start thinking about it. Because according to this pin, you're going to marry me. You wanted me, Mr. Larkin?
Yes, another assignment for you. No trim, Fuller?
You mean the guy that beat the rap on that murder case?
That's the fellow. Shoot down to his place and get a story. Know where it is?
Sure. He operates the cellar joint on Front Street.
That's right. If you got any extra horseshoes, you better take them with you. Wait a minute. Better get some pictures. I'll get Tip Crane to go with you. Tell Tip to come here with his camera and make it snappy.
I'll bet there's a whale of a story behind that Fuller case.
What do you mean, behind the case? Couldn't find the gun that did the killing. Without it, they couldn't prove the Fuller did it. That's just it.
Where did that gun disappear to? Who got it? Who put up all the dough for those high-priced lawyers? Huh. It's a cinch it wasn't Fuller.
Hey, wait a minute. I'm not a question and answer bureau. Suppose you ask Trim Fuller about it.
Call for me, Mr. Larkin?
Yes, get some pictures of Fuller. Gordon will do the interview.
Yes.
On Gordon. Don't come back without it.
cheer up, kid. The worst is yet to come. Brother, you said a mouthful. I'm looking for Trim Fuller. Is he around?
There he is over there.
Mr. Fuller? I'm Bob Gordon of the Record.
Oh, yeah? What does it make me?
Well, makes you a darn good fighter to quit the ring too soon.
I ain't talking to no newspaper guys. Get me?
It's okay with me. I'd rather talk about your ring battles anyway. Say, isn't that where you got your nickname? For trimming the other guy?
And when I trimmed them, though, they stayed trimmed. Hey, Jake, answer the phone.
Hello. Yeah. Who wants him? Oh. I get you. All right. I want it on the phone, Sam.
Who is it? What does that guy want? Hello? Yeah, this is Trim. What's that? Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, they're here now.
Well, be careful they don't hear. I don't want them to know this call concerns them.
All right. All right. Say, what do you want now? Say, nothing doing. I ain't taking any chances.
You'll do as I say, Trim. It's orders from Kent.
You're pretty busy answering the phone these days, eh, Trim?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. Say, we better go into my office. We can talk better there.
All right.
Where you going?
Oh, I'm going to get some pictures of you.
Say, too. Listen, fella, there ain't going to be no pictures. Get me? Now, beat it.
But listen. What's the idea of locking the door, Trim?
Just to make sure we're not interrupted. All right, now, smart guy, what's your game?
You got me wrong, Trim. I thought we came in here to have a talk.
Sure, we did. But you're not kidding me. I'm wise to you. Think you're going to trick me into spilling something.
Oh, forget it, Trim. You got your wires crossed.
Yeah? Well, the last guy that thought that woke up in the hospital. Oh, I got my wires crossed, eh?
Are you all right? Come on, break the door down.
Police headquarters, quick! Police headquarters, this is Tip Crane of the Record. Send some cops down to Fuller's Joint. There's a big fight here.
So the boy wonder upset the apple cart again, eh, Larkin? Gordon's nobody's fool. He's bright and clever. Too clever for our good.
Don't I know it? I've tried to queer him with some tough assignments, but he comes through every time.
Don't let him get suspicious of you. He has an uncanny knack of finding out things.
That's what I'm afraid of. If he should ever get the idea that I was trying to frame him...
He might get wise to our agreement. We've got to turn Brewster against him. Make it appear that Gordon's double-crossing him.
That's easier said than done. Now, it'll take considerable to turn Brewster against him now.
But suppose it is made to appear that Gordon has...
What now, Mr. Larkin? Another interview with Trim Fuller?
Cut out the wisecracks, Gordon. I warned you what you were going up against.
Sure you did. No offense meant. I was only kidding.
I'll save it for the funny sheets. You've heard of Andrew Comstock, I suppose?
The financier? I guess everybody knows him.
He's just back from a trip through Europe. Get his views on the present financial situation. Possibility of an early economic recovery. Every paper in town's tried to get an interview.
I understand.
Oh, yes, and take Tip with you. Get some pictures. If you can.
Okay. They're as good as had right now, Mr. Larkin. With your optimistic disposition, it's a wonder you don't laugh yourself to death.
Is that so? Well, I suppose you know all about this guy Comstock.
Well, I've heard of him.
Yeah, well, you haven't heard the half of it, my boy. Listen, of all the crusty, hard shells, grout...
I'll tell you what we'll do, Tip. I'll go in and proposition Comstock. If it's okay, I'll come out and get you.
Great, and I'll be ready to catch you as you're thrown out.
Glad to see you again, Mr. Comstock. Did you have a pleasant trip?
Fine, Bob, fine. But what's this I hear about your striking up for yourself? Your aunt says you've gone crazy.
She would think so. But that's what brings me here today. Not that I wouldn't come in to see you anyway, but I'm a newspaper man, and I've been sent to get your views on the present financial situation.
I don't give out any interviews to the press, Bob. You ought to know that.
I know you don't, and I wouldn't ask you to. But don't you honestly believe that you could help a lot of people? I mean, people who really need help and don't know to whom to turn. Nobody knows the financial situation as you do. No one knows the chance for an economic recovery as you do. The very fact is you don't give out promiscuous interviews. You give added weight to anything you might say. Your opinions and your integrity are respected, and people would grasp at anything that you could offer.
All right, Bob. What do you want to know?
Spoken like an American citizen and true gentleman.
Well, go ahead. Fire your questions. I suppose I can at least be thankful you didn't become a book agent. Take my picture? No, sirree. Bob, if you must have one of my pictures, you can have one of my old ones, but...
Now, Mr. Comstock. You couldn't expect me to use a picture that was taken 20 years ago with this article. Why, it probably is a good picture, all right. But it lacked the poise, the dignity, the kindly spirit,
Just a
strength.
minute. Just a minute. Bring on your photographer. Hey, listen. If I ever hear of your selling insurance, I'm going to move out of the country.
Hold on there. I haven't got that interview yet. We got to take some pictures.
Pictures of Comstock?
Sure, bring your camera. Come on, he's waiting.
Well, I'll be...
There you are, Mr. Larkin. Pictures and everything.
Why, what's this?
Exclusive interview with Andrew Comstock, noted financier, by Bob Gordon of the Record. Photos by the Record staff photographer, Tip Crane.
Oh. Well, suppose you put your head under a hydrant until your hat fits again.
In other words, get out. I'm as good as out right now.
I can't believe.
But there must be some mistake. Bob wouldn't do a thing like this. He couldn't.
I can understand how you feel, sir. You too, Miss Helen, but... Well, there's the proof before your eyes. You can't get around that.
No, I can't. The interview in the news is almost identical with the one in the record. Gordon wrote them both. There's no question about it. Well, even the photographs are identical.
Well, that's possible, Father.
And you can't get away from the facts. There they are. Self-evident. Positive proof that Gordon sold us out to the news.
But give him a chance to explain. Maybe he had nothing to do with it.
Oh, he'll have every chance to explain, Miss Helen. I left word for him to come here immediately, sir. I thought best to let your father decide what action to take. Have you seen the latest edition of the news?
Hardly. As an employee of the Record, I'm its best customer. And I don't contribute to the support of the opposition paper.
Oh, you don't? Well, take a look at this. The latest edition of the opposition paper.
My interview with Comstock. And it's in the news.
Exactly.
Why, what is this, a joke?
Hardly.
Oh, Mr. Brewster, you don't believe that
I believe in facts, Gordon. You hold the proof of those facts in your hand.
But I know nothing about that. Had nothing to do with it. You've got to believe me. Helen, You don't believe that I'd do a thing like this.
Then how do you account for your interview being in the news? Practically word for word.
I can't account for it. But I know that interview didn't leave my hands from the time I got it until I left it in your office. If the news got a hold of it, it must have been after I gave it to you.
Are you insinuating...
I'm not insinuating anything. I'm only saying what I know to be a fact.
Maybe Mr. Comstock gave the same interview to one of the reporters of the news.
It's impossible, Helen. Those two interviews were written by the same man. There's no doubt about it.
That's true, Mr. Brewster. But there's a very slim chance that Miss Helen is right. And it's only fair to Gordon to give him the benefit of that chance.
In other words, you suggest dropping the whole matter?
Well, not at all, sir. Let Mr. Comstock be the deciding factor. If he says he gave the interview to the news also, then that clears Gordon. If he didn't...
Very well. I'll phone Comstock myself. Get Mr. Andrew Comstock on the phone. Hello, Mr. Comstock. This is Brewster of the Record speaking.
Yes. What's that? Yes, I gave that interview to Bob Gordon. Say, confound it, you're the second one that asked me the same question. If I knew that I was going to have all this bother...
I'm very sorry, Mr. Comstock. I didn't know anyone from the Record had called you before.
I gave it to the news. Can't call me up to verify an interview I had with Bob Gordon. Say, hang it all, what paper is he working for anyway?
He was supposed to be working for the Record. Thanks. That's settled. Kemp of the News phoned Comstock some time ago. Wanted to know if he had given an interview to Bob Gordon.
Bob.
Kent.
Under the circumstances, Gordon...
You don't have to tell me, Mr. Brewster. I know what you're going to say. For the use of my services. But let me tell you something. Kent didn't get that interview from me, and he knows it.
But what reason would Kent have for lying?
The same reason that he framed that attack on me in Trim Fuller's place.
Oh, it's ridiculous, absurd. Why, in the first place, how could he know you were going there? What reason would he have for framing you?
I'm not ready to discuss any reason yet. But I do know he instigated that attack on me to get me out of the way. And when I find out how he knew I was going there, I'll know who gave him the Comstock interview.
Oh, Bob! Bob, wait! I couldn't let you go this way, thinking that I...
That's all right, Helen. I don't blame you or your father for thinking what you do. From the evidence that Larkin presented, I'm almost tempted to believe it's true myself. Oh, it isn't the loss of the job that I care about. It's the thought that you and your father believed that I betrayed the trust and faith you had in me.
But I want to believe in you, Bob. I do believe in you. Only...
Yes, I know. Only you can't.
There's not a chance in the world of his finding it.
Where is it?
Safely hidden at my desk at the office.
Your office? Why, you blundering...
Why, sure. It's right under his nose. The last place in the world he'd ever think of looking.
Well, you'd better go back to your office and get it.
Well, maybe you're right. I'll do it now.
What's that?
It's Gordon.
He's heard about that agreement. You've got to beat him to the office.
Lit 1,000 different roads around here, and you picked this one to practice on.
Well, I'm sorry, pal, but we didn't see you coming.
Yeah, your being sorry don't help me any. You fellas want to square yourself for wrecking my car?
Sure, I'll do anything I can.
Okay, fine. Here's my card. See you later.
Bob Gordon of the Record. Gee, these reporter guys are sure dippy.
No, you don't, Harkin. Here, what's the meaning of this?
I think this will explain everything, Mr. Brewster. Does that prove anything to you, Mr. Brewster?
It certainly does. Larkin, I want to see you in my office.
Oh, Father,
Yes?
it looks like you'll be able to take that vacation after all.
What do you mean?
Remember? Loyalty. I think it will be all right.
Gordon, on excellent advice, I'm going to renew my vacation. Will you take Larkin's place?
Well,
Of course he will.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations, Mr. Managing Editor.
And my first assignment...
No full of joints.
Well, Mr. Managing Editor,
How would you like to be Mrs. Managing Editor?
I'd like it.
I don't like the way you say that. Here. Meet me at the License Bureau in 1 hour.
Yes, sir. But
Honor.
yes.